Waldon.
Yeah.
Not like it's spelled on some of the maps. Now, approximately, let's start off with I guess his first marriage.
Well, his mother died, and his daddy moved to Texas. No, that's wrong.
Okay.
They moved, the whole family moved to Texas.
Mother and all.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his sisters.
Do you have any idea around what town, Texas?
It was somewhere close to Houston. I don't know just where.
Southern part of Texas, down to southern, southeastern. Okay. Do you know approximately how old he was when they moved to Texas?
No, I don't.
Did he serve in the Civil War?
His daddy did.
His daddy did. And he was on what side?
Oh, no. Papa, yeah, Papa was in the Civil War. And his daddy was in that, Sam Houston business with the Mexicans.
Right.
That's how come in to get his land grant.
Okay. That's something we sure need to cover here. That Grandpa's father was in the...
And I don't remember whether his name was David or... David or Daniel. I rather think it was David, though.
David Waldon.
I rather think it was. Now, I'm not positive.
Okay.
But it was one of the two.
And he served with the Texas militia in the war that the Alamo was so famous for. And therefore he was given a land grant down around Houston somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's where they were living.
Yeah.
And how much land grant was that, do you know?
Oh, it was thousands of acres. I don't know how many acres it was. It was those land grants, you know, Texas land grants were great big. And I've heard Papa say that he could go down there and prove up on that and get that land, but he says he don't need it. You see, he just, but if he'd have done it, think what he'd have done for us.
Right. Now, how many brothers and sisters did he have, approximately, do you know?
He had, some half-sisters, but I just don't know their names or them, but then one of them's name was Suki. Wasn't that some name for a girl?
Suki.
And one of them was named Carolyn. And one of them was named Minerva.
Minerva was a popular name, evidently. But let's back up. Didn't you say that he was part Indian, part Choctaw?
Part Choctaw. I don't know how, not very much.
Probably an eighth or 16th.
But he could talk 5 different languages, Indian languages.
What were those? Choctaw, Chickasaw,
Now my mother,
Cherokee, Creek.
my mother could talk different languages too, and whenever they'd want to talk about something and didn't want me and Dale to know what it was, they'd talk in this other language, you know, and Dale would say, "Mama, you shut up." She'd be better than to say that to Papa, you know, but she'd get around that, "Mama, shut up."
Well, I guess Grandpa could talk very fluent Chickasaw.
Oh, yes. Yes, I got into it with him once. I told him, I said, "I can talk Chickasaw better than you can." He said, "Is that so?" I said, "It sure is. I can talk Chickasaw better than you." He said, "Well," he said, "let's just have a contest." Said, and let your mama be the judge. And says, "After this, there won't be anything but Chickasaw talked around here." And we started in. And we went pretty good, several days. And so one day, I had to say something about the cook stove. And I couldn't think what cook stove was. And Mama knew, and he did too, that I couldn't think of cook stove. I studied and studied, and he said to me in Chickasaw, he said, "Whenever you think what that is, why," he says, "you come and finish your sentence. We'll start on from there." But he's given me time to think, you know, what was. And I couldn't never think of it. And finally I had to say, "Well, I don't know what it is. I don't know." And they just laughed. They laughed. We was all at the table. And I said, "What is it, Mama?" And she said, "Ahopone." I said, "I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it anymore." So it proved that he was the best. I wasn't as good as he was. I couldn't.
How come him to decide to come north?
They moved down in Texas, and grandmother quit him and married a man by the name of Cole and moved up here. And he was quite a bit older than her because he'd had a family before.
But
and
she quit.
Grandpa.
Grandpa Waldon.
Mm-hmm.
Great-great-grandpa Waldon.
And
Is there any background on that? Any particular reason why?
well, there was one of the girls married Strickland, and one of the girls married Howard. No, a Wolf. A Strickland and a Wolf. This Wolf girl, she married Howard, you know, and what's that Howard's name that works it down there?
Bill?
Bill Howard. Yeah, he's my
Now, when you talk about these
he's
girls,
my cousin.
who are these girls? Are they Grandpa's sisters?
Yeah, half
Okay.
sisters.
Half-sisters.
But his daddy, you know, his daddy, previous marriage. But now Sookie and Eliza and Minerva was his own sisters, and he was the only boy.
All right, there was 4
Mm-hmm.
by that marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And that was by, did you say David Waldon?
Yes,
David Waldon, and
Mhm.
the mother's name was what?
Minerva.
Minerva.
That was her name, Minerva.
Right.
She didn't have no girl. I was mistaken. She didn't have no girl named Minerva. But there was Sookie and Eliza.
Okay, anyhow, any particular reason why she quit?
Him,
Uh-huh.
I never did ask, but I just supposed that he was a real old man and she fell in love with a younger man and quit him. I don't know any other reason.
Well, didn't you say Colson was an old man? Or what's his name? Didn't Grandpa's mother bring him and come up here and marry another man in this part of the country?
Mm-hmm.
What was his name?
That's what I said Olita could call, and I can't call him. I can't call that name. His last name was Brown.
And she married a Brown.
No, but his first name and his last, he was Brown, but then his first name was, oh heck, it was an Indian name from way back. I couldn't.
Well, I think you're confusing me now. I want to make sure that we got it right. They lived in down around Houston for a while. And
Yeah.
Grandpa's
Why?
mother,
Why? Grandpa's mother, yeah.
Grandpa's mother, Tom Waldon's mother, and he and his sisters came north.
No,
She met somebody down there.
she married somebody down there and come north
With him.
with the girls. Oh, he kept Papa. He wouldn't let her bring Papa. He was the baby.
And his name, that's what we're having trouble thinking of his name, the one that kept Papa.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And they got a letter from him. She wanted to know about him and about Tom, about Papa.
Mm-hmm.
So she wrote back and oh, Papa said he wanted to come to see her. He wanted to see his mama so bad, and coming to begging to come to up to Oklahoma, you know. And he didn't want him to come, but he told him he'd come and stay. I believe it was 2 months, and that he'd come home. He'd come back. He'd come back, and he got his horse stolen
While he was up here or on the way?
while he was up here. And he said he tracked that horse home, but he couldn't never find where that horse went. And he, the time come for him to go back, and he couldn't go back.
Now,
Yeah.
his mother was living with
Cold.
Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Has he got another, you can think of his first name?
I don't know what
But his last name was Cole.
his last name.
And it was down around,
And people called Papa Cole, you know, Tom Cole. That creek's named after him, you know, 'cause,
Coal Creek.
yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah,
I was wondering how they got the name of that creek.
it's named after Papa. And he said he had a hard time getting them to call him Waldon, you know, because everybody knew that he was that coal man's boy, you know, and they just called him Cole. And so he finally went back down there, and I never questioned him, or if he told me how he got back down there. I don't remember that, but Grandpa died
While he was down there.
while he was down there. He died. and he died after the time was up that Papa was to come back. And those people there that was there said he would say, "Oh, Tommy, 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 I didn't think that you'd deceive me."
In other words, Grandpa hadn't had time to get back down there. He died before he got
Yeah,
back down. Okay.
And Papa said when they told him how his daddy grieved, you know, he said it just like the flood. I just couldn't hardly stand it. Said he grieved like he did, you know, and I didn't make it that way. He was dead and buried down there before Papa got back.
Well, after he got back, was there any kids around to do anything with the old place or do anything, or did he just leave it, or what?
Left it and come back where his mother and his sisters were.
And what town was this? Paul's Valley?
No, I don't know just where it was. But he married again and lived at Paul's Valley.
Married again, you mean the first time?
And, yeah, the first time. He married and lived at Paul's Valley.
Who did he marry?
Sophie.
Sophie. Okay, now you explained who Sophie was. She was
his sister's stepdaughter.
Right, his sister's stepdaughter.
Yeah.
Okay. And he married Sophie, and they lived at Paul's Valley.
Yeah.
Why did they ever decide to come up to this part of the country?
Well, the government said that the Indians had to take allotments. They had to take allotments. The Indians didn't want allotments. They wanted it to be a reservation. And live anywhere they wanted to, in the reservation. Well, he said, well, he knew that it wouldn't do him any good to object to it because the government went out. So he said that he saddled his horse and took off and come up the river, come to this river, to find bottom land. You know, the Indians thought way back there that if you had land that would fit to grow anything, you had to have bottom land.
Right.
And so he come up here and he seen this bottom down here. And so he decided that's where he'd make his allotment.
Now the reason he got an allotment, and he's on the
It's
road.
intermarried.
He's intermarried to an Indian, and he's on the rolls just like she is.
Yeah.
He's on the books.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
So did he get a double allotment? He got his allotment plus Sophie's allotment.
Uh-huh.
And that allotment was how much back in those days?
Well, I don't know, Tom. It had to amount in price a certain amount. It was appraised, you know, and if you got sorry land, you got more land. And if you got a good land, why, you didn't get so much. And so I don't know how much land they
Well, wasn't the minimum about 120?
No, I don't think so. It might have been 160.
160 minimum, maybe, yeah, quarter.
I kind of think that's what it was, but I'm not sure. Oh,
Plus,
I got 220, you see.
Mm-hmm. Now, going back, try to tie down about what time this was that he come up here to get his allotment. Do you have any idea?
No, I don't. I don't know when the rolls were open. If you knew when the Chickasaw rolls was open,
Well,
he got up in here before the a lot of time because
you realize he got right on the border because this is the
Yeah, I know
Chickasaw
it is.
Nation.
As far as you could come.
Right. Okay. He come up and claimed his allotment and Sophie's allotment, or their allotment.
And the kids. What kids they
and
had.
all the kids.
Uh-huh.
Now, how many kids did they have at that time? Or do you know?
No, I don't know exactly. But I know who they've allotted here. And that's, his oldest child was Hosey, and the next one was Albert, and the next one was Benny. Next one was Jim. And then they had Eliza. And Eliza and Bird. But there's 4 of the boys died while they lived at Falls Valley before they moved up here.
Well, would he have got their allotment if they was dead?
No, I don't think he could have. He could have allotted them. I don't think he could.
Well, I'm trying to figure out approximately how many allotments that he, had control of at the time he came
had
up.
This, but Tom, back then, they could have as much land as they could buy wire and fence.
Well, they leased it too, right, from the government, and paid what?
Now, I don't know whether they leased it or not. I never did hear it said. But then
whatever
Papa,
they could fence, they could have.
Yeah, and Papa fenced to Jimmy Wright's place, down there to that Sun Valley, or
down to the 9-mile line.
Yeah, from there south and around till he run into Jim Tuttle. Up here, Jim Tuttle.
Okay, now do you know approximately what mile line that was where the ranch is bent?
Well, that'd be
Great.
out of the 2-mile line.
Huh?
I mean, out of the 2-mile line, about the 1-mile line.
That's where I thought it would be. And then how far south of the road did he go, do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. Lenny says you're probably getting tired. If you are, we might as well. We can do this. If you're getting tired, let's go back to the rest.
Oh, I'm not tired. It's 9:30.
Anyhow, he rode up here, and this is the reason he was up in this country. He come up to claim the Indian allotments.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, not only the Indian allotments, he bought enough fence and made a ranch.
Yeah.
Made his ranch.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, we could go back and find the date when he come up.
Mm-hmm.
But, was Hosey born here or down Falls Valley?
Down there.
Okay. Now, was the children that died older than Hosey?
Younger.
Younger. They're in between them. So, do you know how many children?
They had 14 children. He and his first wife. Now, I know that, but and they had one named Katie, a girl that died.
Now, you named all of them, but I don't even think you got down to Bird.
Well, I named the ones that was allotted up here. Now,
Oh, wasn't Bird allotted?
Yes. His allotment was down there in the bottom, And he didn't get much land because it was pretty good land. He sold his surplus, and I think his homestead's all he had when he died, wasn't it, Bun? Papa had bought. No, he still had it, didn't he? Bird had it.
I don't know where his allotment was, but what he got of the estate was at 40,
Yeah.
down there, that's 20 acres up there.
Oh,
with the
yeah.
ranch.
Right, because Brother Dudley bought it off of him.
Yeah.
They give him a new Ford for it.
I don't know where it's lost from. Where was Bird's lost?
I don't know where it was. I tell you, they sold their land, and Papa tried to keep him from selling it. He couldn't. And whenever he couldn't, he bought it. And that's how come him to have that land, because he bought it because...
He knew what happened to him.
Yeah, he knew what happened to him.
How much education did Grandpa have? Must have been a wise man, but I don't know.
No, he just had... Oh, I'm
Course
just
sense?
guessing now. I'm just guessing. I think he had third or fourth grade.
I see. Where did he, after he just got his allotment and got it fenced, did he buy his cattle locally, or do you not have any idea where he bought his cattle?
I don't know how he got his cattle. He raised hogs too. He had the bottom and the prairie fenced and fenced in for hogs. And he said that he went to the city and there was a guy there wanting work. And he said, all right, he'd take him out, and he told him he owned the ranch, he needed a hand, and just bring him out. And so he said that, Pop said that night, they got to talking, and he asked Papa how many hogs he had. And anyhow, he said, he found out Papa didn't have no shelter for him, no hog sheds.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he said, you can't. He come from way up north, you know, and
Where it's real cold.
you can't raise hogs like that. You just can't. It just can't be done. And he said, no success at that. It's a wonder you've got any. And anyhow, Pop said, I never said no more to him. I thought I'd just let him see for himself. And so they had to load a wagon load of corn, and he said that it loaded up that corn, and this guy going with him, and they went out in the prairie, out on the prairie. And he said he went to hooping and hollering, you know, for his hogs, and here come them big old hogs out of the timber. You know, and this guy was just looking. He just like, his eyes like to pop out because he never saw such a thing. And he says, and that's the way you feed your hogs, and the way you got them. He just couldn't. He said, I'd have never thought it could be done. I never thought it could be done. And then Papa went more in cattle, you know, for cattle. And when Doc and Doc's dad and Mama married, Papa said that he tried to get Ben to raise cattle, and he wouldn't do it. He went in for horses. Horses were very expensive in that day and time. They was just like people crazy about a car, you know, everybody was crazy about a good horse. He'd raise horses, and I'm telling you, Papa said that people would just steal horses. Said he'd tell him, they had a horse thief, they formed that in the country, and they put a C brand on the horse's jaw. And if a man was caught with a C-brand horse and he didn't have papers for that horse, they'd hang him.
Now the C stood for what?
And a Horse Thief Association.
All of them had a C on them.
Mm-hmm. They branded the horses. And
instead of your own brand, you put a C on it.
Put a C on it.
That's good. Okay, where did they first live? Where did Grandpa and Sophie live before they built the ranch house? Of course, I know they built the ranch house.
They lived at Paul's Valley.
Well,
They
I mean
lived-
when they come up here.
Oh, they built a house up there where Jim lived. You know where?
Right, I know. Very close to the old Waldon schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Down the hill from it.
No,
Well,
up on the hill. And he had a store there.
Well, now
Papa.
Jim, when I knew, with the Waldons, he lived downhill from the Waldon schoolhouse instead of up. Now, maybe one
Oh,
time
yeah, he lived down there with the road.
Yeah.
Well,
That was after he lost his farm.
that's
Okay.
after he lost his farm.
Well, now, see, that's the reason that you better explain. In other words, actually, where they lived, they had a house due south almost to where the ranch house was finally built.
Yeah, uh-huh. And they had that house up there, and they had a store up there and a post office, and it was called Waldon.
Walden store and post office.
Uh-huh. Well, it anyhow,
Well, now, was Silver City going at this time?
I think so. Silver City was north of Tuttle, you know, over there on Jim Tuttle's ranch property. And I don't know if
Well, how long did they run this store and post office?
I don't know that. I don't know.
About what year did he decide he was going to build the ranch house and start freighting that stuff in?
I don't know that.
Must have not been too long after he lived here.
That
Because,
wasn't the first Waldon school
He built it.
east of Wood.
He built it, yeah, and it was east over there on the creek, just across that draw that before you hit the corner,
Yeah.
you know, right over in there.
boy, that's kind of smoky.
And he built that school, and it was a conscript school. And he kept the teacher, hired the teacher, and kept the teacher free of charge. And so people could send their children to school. Now, he didn't have to do that. He did it because he just wanted to, and give people an opportunity for their children to go to school, because he could send his children all to government schools, which he did.
Did most of them all go off to government
They
school?
all went off to government schools.
But he had a school there,
He
mainly
had-
for his help, his hard help and stuff that lived around.
Yeah, uh-huh. For people that live. And, you know, Tom, in those days, they called people that moved in, you know, nesters. The white people, they called them nesters. And I went to school at Waldon some. And I had a chum, and her name was Alice Summers. And they'd say, I'd hear them talk about Summers and call them nesters, you know. And so I said to her one day, I said, "You all are nesters, aren't you?" And she said, "Nesters." And I said, "Yes." She said, "What's nesters?" And I said, "You all are nesters." And we didn't either one know what nesters was. And it was just people, you know, that come in and just pitched a nest, you know, and they called them nesters. Oh, they've built a nest, and now they're nesters. And neither one of us understood what nesters was, but we talked about it. And she was a nester, and I wasn't. And I just hated because they called her folks nesters.
Did we ever determine which ones of the kids were born up here and which ones were born at Falls Valley?
No.
Once again, how many children did they have? Now, they didn't all live.
14.
14.
Mm-hmm.
And the baby of the whole...
Every girl that they would have, I don't remember how many girls they had, but I heard them say that every girl they had would die. And just the boys would live.
Not all of them.
Not all of them. They named one of the girls Katie because Mama was the delivered her. See, and took her home with her and let her nurse with I believe it was Jackson. I believe it was Jack. She just kept her like she had twin babies, you know, and she said, let me take this one home with me, and I'll raise it. And so Sophie said, well, okay. Says, I'll let you do that because I know I can't raise it. I know it'll die if I keep it. And she wanted a little girl so bad. Well, Mama said she kept her till she weaned her, and they didn't wean kids till they was about 18 months old back then. That time, or 2 years.
He cussed his mama behind the door and walked the nurse. I told so.
Well, anyhow, Mama didn't wean her till she was a year, maybe 2 years old, and took her back home, and within a year she was a corpse.
Anybody determined what caused this?
No, they didn't know. She got sick, something, I don't remember now what they said. And her name was Katie. They named her after Mama. And Mama said that just hurt her so bad because she died, you know, and she said that if I'd have kept her, she would have. She felt that way. She really, and they felt that way. They felt like if they hadn't took her home, that she would have lived. But I don't know how many girls they had.
Was it?
But they had 14 children in all.
Every time a child was born, did you get another allotment?
Huh?
Every time a child was born,
Yeah,
did you get another allotment? Then he got an allotment for this girl.
Yes, I guess he did.
So first born.
Was they having allotments then? Giving allotments then?
I don't know whether they give them out for a while and then stop and then give out some more, or they give them all along up until, you know, they got you and mother on the road and then it stopped it, you know. But I don't know. Was Bird, do you know whether Bird was born here or down California?
I don't know. I just don't know.
Well,
I wish I knew more about Papa's sisters and about that land grant.
yes.
Boy, that's where Houston, Texas is on a big part of it. I've been told. I bet we could go down there and find out a lot about where it is at. You know, we'll find. I don't know whether his grave ever had a tombstone.
Well, some of your cousins working on that.
They come up here. I never did talk to them about it. They was really enthused about it and wanted to prove up on it. It was one of his sister's kids.
Okay. It must have been that several of the kids were born here because what you're telling me, it was on his trips as he would go to get lumber for the ranch house that he met his or Katie or grandmother and brought her back when he was building the ranch house.
Hauling the lumber.
Hauling the lumber to build it. Now, if he was hauling the lumber to build it, way back then, and that was before she'd ever met the Pikey.
Yeah,
And we know how old they are. Some of them is almost as old as a lot of the Waldons. So several of the Waldons were born here. So almost all of them, except Hosey, possibly were born in
I just never, I could have asked Jim a lot of stuff that he would have remembered, you know, about the store. He's telling one time about him and Jim invoicing, and they had to get stock in, you know, and they'd go to city to get their supplies. And he said that, I don't know, Jose said, here's a cat soup, you know. And Jim said that he laughed at him, you know, got tickled at Jose. He didn't know what ketchup was, you know. He called it cat. Says, here's cat soup, you know. I remember him telling that, and I could have found out then, since he brought up that, something about the store, but I didn't. It just slipped my mind. Papa told me to go back, if I ever went back to Tennessee, to look up Walden Springs and go there and see the place where he was born.
Well, might have to.
And there's Walden Ridge there, too, in Tennessee. But they spell it W-A-L-D-E-N.
Instead of D-O-N.
Mm-hmm. And Marvin and his wife have lived at Walden Springs. And she said they spell it E-N in the place of O-N.
Well, I noticed in some of Marvin's papers, he spelled it W-A-L-D-E-N.
He's going to change it, huh?
Well, wonder why he wants to change it.
Well, we've got him up there, and we've got him in the store, and so forth. Why don't we stop now and pick him up?